Okay, so in this example, it says, what is the greatest common factor for the following expression? So when we look at this, I attached a little piece right here just to help remind you. It says to find the greatest common factor, ask yourself. So the first thing you're going to ask yourself is, what is the largest number that divides evenly into all of the coefficients? And reminder, coefficient is a fancy way for saying number in front of your variable. And the second, right here, says what variables are common to all terms? And you're looking for the lowest common exponent is the greatest common factor. Okay? So the first one here, A, 5x minus 10. So we have a 5 and we have a 10. So the biggest number that goes into both is 5. So I'm just going to write my equal sign, and I'm going to put a 5 there. And then when we look at our variables, we'll notice that this one has an x, but this one does not. So since they both do not have an x, all we can do is just use the number 5. So this would be your final answer. The second one, looking at B, it says 8x squared minus 4x. So we start looking at the numbers first. We have an 8 and we have a 4. So the greatest common factor when we look at numbers that would go into both would be 4, because 4 goes into 4 once and 4 goes into 8 twice. Now we have to look at the variables. So this one has an x squared and this one has an x, which just means x to the 1. So in that case, we can take x out of both of these. Okay, you can't take squared out because this one only has a 1. And because of that, we can only take one of them out. So that is your final answer. All right, C. We have 7x cubed minus 21x squared. So we look at the 7 and we look at 21. The biggest number that goes into both is 7. 7 goes into itself once, and 7 goes into 21 3 times. 7 times 3 is 21. Now we have to look at the variables. We have an x cubed and we have an x squared. So we definitely can take an x out. And now we look when it says up here, the lowest common exponent is the greatest common factor. So because we have a 2 and we have a 3, the lowest number is a 2. So that means we can take out 2. And that is your final answer. Okay, last one. We have x cubed minus 5x to the 4. So first things first, I have my equal sign. Because there's no number in front of the x squared, it's assumed that there's a 1. And then we have a 5. So the largest number that we can take out of both would just be 1. So you could put a 1, but you don't have to because it's assumed that it's there. So now we look at the lowest common exponent on our variable. So here we have a 3. Over here we have a 4. So the lowest one is 3. So we are going to write x cubed. And that is your final answer.